Okay.
to that as well.
Let's get started.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to the January 6, 2026 meeting of the Rybrook Zoning Board of Appeals. We have a full complement of the board this evening. Steve, do you know if Christian is en route or?
Yeah, I didn't speak to him today, but he's supposed to be here.
Okay, well, we may be waiting on, we won't wait, but we'll continue. We have enough lawyers sitting around a table now.
There he is.
Okay. The arrival of Christian Gates, Village Council, Steve Hughes, the building inspector, and David Heiser, who's our liaison, isn't
Who's
here this
invisible
evening,
tonight.
excused. If you're going to be making a presentation, please come to the podium, state your name, your address, nature of the variance, and if you're representing the applicants, the nature of your agency. This evening, we have full complement, so we don't have to worry about giving anyone an opportunity to extend the application to another date. Our first application is ZBA 25-025 Jack Gigli and Maria Macchia, 15 Maywood Avenue, legalize expanded driveway, rear patio, and garden wall. So whoever's going to be making the presentation, I believe the mics are on,
Okay.
hopefully.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and I want to thank you all for coming out on this cold night and wish everybody a Happy New Year. Daniel Tartaglia, 800 Westchester Avenue, Rybrook, New York. I'm here this evening representing the applicants, Maria Macchia and Jack Gigli, who currently reside at 15 Maywood Avenue in Rybrook. This application is seeking a couple of variances to legitimize an existing situation or development that had occurred on the site that was, at the time that the installation of the driveway and the pavers was made, the applicants had no idea that really it required a variance, and based upon many other houses along the street, they really had no reason to believe that what they were doing required a variance. So the driveway was installed, I think it was it your father? And basically has serviced the premises in order to allow more than one car to park.
How long has it been there?
2017.
When did you buy the house?
So the nature of the application is really pretty simple. The applicants here have signed a contract to sell the house. They first started to undertake to sell the house back in August and September. The broker came to the village, of course, to look at the building files to make sure everything was the way it was supposed to be. They uncovered that there was some improvements that were made to the interior that required a certificate of occupancy. The sellers at the time requested that the CO be issued for the improvements in the basement. So that was made a condition of the contract, but at the time that the contract was signed, they were still not aware that the improvements that they made to the front yard here required a variance.
Excuse me, when you said the sellers were not aware, when they bought the house, the sellers, or that they now are sellers?
They now are sellers.
Okay, I just wanted to know which sellers you were talking about.
Correct. So my clients, the current occupants, did the improvements.
In the basement?
They didn't do the improvements in the basement.
Okay, so you started saying about improvements in the basement. Who did those?
The prior owners.
Prior owners?
Correct.
And the house was inspected at that point?
It was inspected when they were getting ready to list it.
Had the prior owners expanded the driveway?
No. No, the current owners did that in 2017.
Okay.
So they were,
All straight.
but they were responsible by contract to get a CO for the improvements to the basement, which they have done or are in the process of doing with the building department. During this process, it was discovered that, variances were required for the improvements that they made to the driveway in the front. That's not part of the contract, so it's not a condition of the contract, unfortunately. So they're kind of really in a tight spot here to try to conclude this transaction. We've made out a case that basically shows that this property really needs relief. I mean, this is in an R5 zone. It's the smallest lot size single-family zone in the village. And, this section of the code with regard to improvements and driveway improvements in the front yard is, in my opinion, and I've had this conversation with you guys before, and I understand you don't make the laws, but it's in my opinion, vague at best. So, and in an R5 zone, it's really bizarre because you can't make the driveway improvements unless you're 25-foot setback from the front line. You can put a house 20 feet from the front line, but you can't do a driveway improvement unless you're 25 feet from the front line. So I really don't think it's an appropriate zoning constraint for small 5,000 square foot lots like this in a subdivision that was done and built in the 50s, with one-car garages. In today's environment, everybody has more than one car. I mean, unless you live by yourself, you have a minimum 2 cars, 3 cars. There's also some parking restrictions on this street that make on-street parking difficult. There's alternate side of the street parking during much of the year for snow removal. And then when school is in session, there's no daytime parking on the street. In my submission, I put a picture of the signs that you can see on the street with the parking restrictions. So you have a situation where it's been there a while. The neighbors to the left and to the right are okay with it. There hasn't been any runoff or flooding issues. It's done aesthetically. There are many houses along the street that have done the same thing, maybe not with pavers, but with macadam. And it's just a situation that, I really think, screams for some relief from the zoning board, and that's kind of what we're asking for. We don't have our engineer with us this evening. He couldn't make it. So if you have any specific engineering questions, he would be available by phone. But, we're really saying that having us remove this is going to cause more harm than leaving it the way it is, that everybody on the street seems to be okay with, and really satisfies a need that these houses have on this street. I don't know if you have any other questions of me or the applicants?
Just to clarify, so I noticed in the photographs you have pictures of the backyard as well. Does that have anything to do with the variances, or is it purely related to the driveway?
It's a
Yes,
front yard and
I'll let
front
Stephen
So
address that.
part of the application was to legalize a patio and wall that was done in the back, but that's in compliance, just part of the application, because they also did that. I don't know if you did that around the same time or not, but that also had to be legalized with a permit, because there used to be a deck back there or something, right? You took the deck out and you made a patio instead, so that had to be, so that's why that's on the application.
But doesn't require a variance.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's only the work that was done in the front yard that requires a variances.
I have 2 questions,
Sure.
I think, just for full transparency. I didn't quite get how the need for the variance became a thing. The broker went in, saw things, and I guess her experience or his experience saw they needed a C of O. How did the driveway become like an issue for someone that sees it there?
I believe it was Stephen who recognized it when he went to do some inspections of the work that they were doing to the interior.
Yeah,
Yeah, may I?
I think you have to go up. Yeah, they like it. Sorry about that. But yeah.
So it was actually our realtor that knew that we had expanded the driveway, and she wanted to cross all her Ts and dot all her Is and make sure that everything was submitted properly when we went through with the sale. So she had brought it to the town's attention that the driveway was expanded, and when Steve came to look at the patio and the driveway, he noticed that it likely would require a variance. So that's where the variance came into play, when Steve came
Can
and
you
looked at it.
clarify, just for the record, why the driveway was changed?
So, yeah, sure, no problem. So originally, the driveway was quite dilapidated, and it was a single-lane driveway, and we knew we wanted to start a family. We have 2 little sons. So the parking situation was always, we have different work schedules as well, was always like moving cars and shifting back and forth. And then during the day, I did receive a ticket because I was parked in the street overnight, because either it was a snow day variable or it was the school parking time. So I got a $50 ticket, and I was like fed up with having to move our cars back and forth every day and being this single-lane driveway. And on top of that, aesthetically, the look of our driveway right now is much nicer than it was prior.
And you said your dad, your father, did
Yes.
the driveway? Is he a contractor?
Yes, he's been in business for 50 years
As a
as a contractor. And so his company is Macchia Landscaping. They also do masonry. When we actually said to him at that time, like, Dad, do you think this needs a permit or something? Like, we feel like
Yeah,
this
I was-
requires something, right?
I was too, but I didn't want to kind of sound rude.
No, so
about it, but
my father,
I just want full
I'm
transparency.
a first-generation immigrant, daughter of an immigrant. My father came here from Italy. So if you could think of like an old-school Italian contractor, that's my dad. So I said to him, well, do you think we need something? Because he's like, no, don't worry about it. Everybody has an expanded driveway. And I said, okay. And now this is our first home experience and the first time that we made any improvements. Actually, the improvements that were made on the inside, we didn't even make. When we purchased the home, it was like that. And when they went to check on COs, there were no COs. So we purchased the home without the COs on the inside and then became responsible for legalizing the inside.
Steve, I have a question for you. The 25 feet from the front yard, where, I'm looking at the plan, you know, it sort of tilts towards it. How far up would the 25 feet take it? All the way up?
Yeah, so where they started, they have about 9 feet from the property line where you see, where it kind of triangles off. So that's why they need, from that part where,
From the where the triangle is?
that's, they got 15 feet up from there. So that's why they,
So is it just that if you went to a horizontal line there and you cut the triangle off, would that put that part in compliance?
no, so.
That's what I'm trying to find out, how far up it goes.
I don't see a triangle either.
Right here.
The angle, so.
The cut in.
Okay.
I want to see how far up it would go.
Gotcha.
So if they went all the way up here, they wouldn't have any room probably to.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Would they still have a turnaround or a parking space if they went up? Where would it be?
Where's the 25 feet that they would have cut it off?
Let me see this on.
The house is set back 30 feet, so it's
All
about
right, so
5 feet in front of the house.
it's not going to work.
Yeah, nah,
Okay, thank you.
that.
That answers that question.
And like I was saying, in the R5 zone, you only have to be 20 foot back for your house.
No, we heard what you said. We're just
Yeah.
looking for if there are other solutions. That's
understand.
our job.
So as you can see, they really only have from here to here, they got 30 feet.
But that's what
Yeah.
Mr. Tartaglio was just saying.
Be all the way up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
You can talk. You just have to come up here.
Just at this time, just introduce yourself. For
Sorry,
the benefit
yes.
of the viewing public.
Maria Macchia, owner of 15 Maywood Avenue. So prior to going through all this process, Jack, my husband, and I were outside with measuring tapes and seeing where all this would take place, because initially we're like, well, wouldn't it just make sense if we just pulled the driveway in a couple of feet, and for us it would have been a cheaper process, right? But then we were measuring, and that 25 feet starts approximately like at the edge of our home.
Well, that's what the
Yeah, so
lawyer
to
attorney
cut
was
it
saying.
in-
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, and to cut it in,
Yeah.
it would literally be where we put our garbage pails, kind of. So for us, it would have, like I said, it would have been a lot easier and simpler for us to just bring it back in and that would have been it, more cost-effective, I
mean,
could say.
The landscaping, and I mean, your house is beautiful from
Thank you.
its curb appeal.
It did help in the sale.
And certainly the on-street parking issues.
It's a continued issue.
I mean, everybody in town, the winter parking is not is everywhere. It's
Yeah.
all of Rybrook, no matter where you live.
Right.
It makes it harder when, because you have the school issue as well.
When you drive by this street, Maywood, and you look at it, Google, you see that that style of all the houses on that side of the street have the box that's basically attached to the house. And one interesting thing that surfaced in my discussions with the building inspector is that, and I know each application is unique, but as a result of this application, and especially if it's improved, everybody on that street is going to now have to come before the zoning board, because pretty much everybody on that street is in violation of this particular code. So I guess, Steve, is that correct? Now that you're aware of it, it becomes an issue for a lot more applications
Boy, aren't
coming
you
forward.
glad you're moving?
Yeah. Especially now, this is public.
Yeah, there's one other house on the street that did get a permit a few years ago. They never closed out the permit, but they had a permit to expand a little bit. The Macchias have, I guess, a couple of support letters from a couple of the neighbors there. But yeah, I mean, it's in Mr. Tartaglia's his letter. Who has this this expansion, so it can't be ignored.
Right, and I do know, like, for our immediate neighbors, that driveway has been that way. Even when I looked back on, like, Google Maps and the, did the overview, the aerial view, their driveway was like that probably since, like, the 1980s. That was when I saw that last screenshot. But I don't know about everyone else, or when they did it, but I know that, like, for our immediate neighbors, it's been there. So I don't know when the zoning rules started, but I do know that there are many houses on the block that do have the same format.
Well, part of the problem is, when you have bulk standards for each zoning district, and Mr. Tartaglia brought the issue up. This is a very serious problem within the village. And when there are that many houses that are outside of the code, it's almost incumbent upon the village to visit that and to deal with that issue for those houses that have that unique situation within a zoning district. Now, that would involve, I guess, a study of each of the districts, because this is something that comes up on a regular basis before the zoning board. And when I drove down that street, and I drive through a lot of the streets because of the nature of the position, but when you drive down the street, it really hits you squarely in the eyes, that you just go boom, 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 right down the street, and they all have that either singular driveway or an expanded driveway, or an expanded driveway with a bump out so that you can park a car there as you pull out. And so I guess we have to visit this on a much larger level and provide some kind of relief, because apparently when you say the house could be 20 and your house is 30 feet away and you have 25 feet, it leaves you no degrees of freedom to get anything done.
Right.
So when the code when it was passed and codified, it clearly left certain issues, which as a zoning board we deal with. But when there's apparently a universal issue, that's when I think you need to go back and revisit that and amend the code to provide that kind of relief, because it's going to be coming up over and over again, and there's no need to have to go through that each time. My only concern was when I read the initial application, I saw that the front yard impervious coverage was large, and that's because of the space. But I noticed, Steve, it has been amended in red ink. So can you just clarify that for the board? so that when we look at this, we are sure of the numbers involved, the size of the variance?
Yes, so for front impervious coverage, you're only allowed 30%. Originally I looked at Mr. Cacciola's drawing. It looked like he was going to propose some modifications, some improvements, or no? On this first, no? Okay. So I think that's where the hiccup was. Everything is staying as is, right? It's not, no more modifications. So the variance for the front yard is a 12.9% increase. So they're going to be, if it's approved, it'll be a 42.9%. So it's 12.9% variance required for the front yard impervious coverage.
If, I guess this is a question for you, Christian. If we were to approve that, can we limit the variance on the impervious coverage to just the driveway? In other words, we're not saying you can make the backyard bigger or the patio bigger, or, I mean, if we were going to do it, I would want to limit it to just this driveway piece.
But there's a total variance for the back and the front, and then there's a front separate.
Okay,
And so that's covered, basically.
This variance is only for the.
just the front.
Right,
Yeah,
just for the
it's
front.
just for the
Just for the
front.
front.
So we're not transferring anything. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
And the situation as to, it comes up all the time, as a Portchester council, you see this all the time. A lot of individuals, when they buy the property, think they can do anything with it, and that's part of the problem. We see that all the time. It's my property, I can do whatever I want, and there's no need for, a permit or knowing what the bulk standards are. Unfortunately, that's the reason the zoning board exists, to grant relief to certain situations.
The other thing that just as an aside, where this constraint is in the code, it's not that intuitive. I mean, it's in the general regulation. In other words, if you go into R5 or R7 and you look at setbacks, a cross-reference that says, go take a look at the general regulations as to parking might be helpful, because, if you don't know to look there, it's not really in a very intuitive place.
Fortunately, that's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And again, I appreciate your itemization of the 5 factors for the board. We always like to see that. I may disagree with some of the shading, but nevertheless, it's appreciative.
It's your prerogative.
It's appreciative that you have that there. I also want to recognize, well, are there any other questions?
No.
No? Okay. Is anyone in the audience besides, I believe it's 3 letters that we received from neighbors in support of the application? Right, there being nobody in the audience additionally wanting to support that, anyone want to speak against it? There being none, I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay. We heard all the general comments as well as the specific comments. How do we feel about situation?
I mean, it's the type of thing that shouldn't happen, it's not supposed to happen. But given the circumstances and given the situation as to how the housing is designed, I think it's something that, if it came before us, we probably would have approved it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the, they did a nice job doing
Yeah,
it.
it looks very nice.
It's beautiful.
It looks gorgeous. There's no question about that.
And the issue of no street parking is very real.
Yeah, what I keep coming back to is if they had come to us and say, we'd like to do this, my feeling is it's something that we probably would have.
And they put up a lot of screening, so the neighbors are not looking at just
Right.
pavement.
One thing though to keep in mind, right, this is creating
Precedent.
precedent.
Right, but I don't know what we do, whether we gotta go back to the planning or the board of trustees to.
Board of Trustees has to amend the zoning code.
Right, so, I mean, that's
With
something.
an
we-
amendment, I guess.
That's
I
something,
agree
I mean, because, when the zoning code was probably written, the R5, it was just 30 years ago.
And
40
to
years
any
ago.
neighbors that are watching this, any ruling in this one does
Does
not
not-
control any other situation.
Non-press, right.
Yeah, I also, I didn't buy into the argument that they're gonna lose the sale if they, I'm not saying not get the variance, but reduce the size of the paving. And,
Well,
I
that's-
already hear the counter argument to that, without anyone saying
But that's
anything.
why I asked how far back, if you had to reduce the pavement, how far back might
Right.
it go? Would it still be useful? And the answer is no.
No.
Well, the 25-foot, I'm
Right.
not talking about that, I'm just talking about the size of the impervious coverage. You could slice some of that off and reduce the size of the variance. That would incur a cost, and it may jeopardize the sale. I highly doubt it.
I don't think that'll jeopardize the sale, but I'm not sure it's worth the cost.
Yeah.
You're still gonna be in violation, so,
Right.
I don't know, I don't,
I mean, you lose the benefit of the turnaround in the parking area if you had to take off that much impervious coverage.
14%?
Yeah, you would lose that whole, you would lose the whole cutout, so it negates the value of that.
You end up with a little lip that serves no purpose.
Right, you can't park a car there, you can't use it as a turnaround.
And if the deal would continue on, I am sure the buyers would be, this is not what I bargained for, it's not the same value, and then there's a lot of, not our problem, but it would be a problem for
Potential problem.
you too.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, all right, do you have, does anyone think there needs to be any kind of conditioning, since they're
Well,
already over?
I don't, that's why I asked the question about whether it could be applied anywhere else, so I don't think
I
there's.
don't think you need anything.
If, I'm just thinking, if there was a condition put on this, would that affect the contract of sale?
Well,
That's the lawyer talking now.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got, you got three lawyers on this panel,
Right,
sorry.
because you then have a buyer that has restrictions that did not have when they entered into
Right,
this
but what
agreement.
kind of restrictions would
Yeah.
you put on here that
really-
are practical? There are none.
No, there are none. That's what I was just saying. If there were restrictions put on this,
Yeah,
is
I
that
don't-
something they'd have to?
Yes, they'd
know
have
that
to,
agreement?
absolutely, they'd have to disclose it.
Would it be anything relating to extending the lower part of the driveway to the same measurement?
Well, we can say it can't be expanded any
Yeah.
further, but it's already at
It's
there.
already there.
Yeah.
And we're only granting the variance to what's exactly there. We're not granting
That's
any
true.
overage.
Yeah.
What you're saying is if they just
Well, that'd
extended
be
it to
theoretically,
the end,
forgetting about the limit, that would be the, if that's extended, they can theoretically
extend it all the way to
extend
the
that, but,
street.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's not that far.
Again, we're not talking a
And that's actually going into.
linear measurement.
That's
we're
also
talking
going
about
into
impervious,
village,
so-
that's also going into
Right.
village property.
Right,
Yeah.
you'd have to.
Yeah.
Let me just run through the 5 factors. You've already seen the arguments from the counselor regarding that will not create adverse impact to the character. I think we
That's
agree with
great,
that.
that,
Benefits the applicant seeks cannot be achieved through another method.
I think we got
Yeah.
there.
Okay, you're overruling me. The requested variance is
Democratic
substantial.
process here.
The requested variance will not create any adverse impacts to the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood, and the need for the variance is self-created.
Right.
Just, Steve, you're not aware of any water issues or anything? No. Okay, make sure of that. All right, let me read the resolution. Whereas application has been made to the Zoning Board of Appeals by Jack Gigli and Maria Macchia, collectively the applicant, for a variance in connection with the proposed legalization of unenclosed off-street parking area and maximum allowable impervious front yard coverage on property located at 15 Maywood Avenue in an R5 zoning district, designated and shown on the map, on the tax map of the Village of Rybrook as parcel ID 135.67-2-66, the property, whereas the applicant seeks relief from the following requirements of the Rybrook zoning code. First, section 250-6, section G, item 1, part D, number 2, unenclosed off-street parking shall not be developed within 25 feet of the front line. The applicant's unenclosed off-street parking has been constructed 9.96 feet from the front lot line, thereby requiring a variance of 15.04 feet. Secondly, section 250-37, part D, the maximum impervious coverage in the front yard is 30%. The applicant's expanded driveway and parking area has been constructed with a front yard coverage of 42.9%. thereby requiring a variance of 12.9%. Whereas a duly advertised public hearing was opened and closed on January 6, 2026, at which time all those in attendance wishing to be heard were given such opportunity. Whereas the proposed action is a type 2 action pursuant to 6 New York CRR, Section 617.517 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and accordingly, no further environmental review is required. Whereas the board, from the application and record before it, after viewing the property and neighborhood concerned, hearing from the applicant, and upon considering each of the factors set forth at Section 250-13, Section G, Part B, Items 2A through E of the Rybrook zoning code, finds the 5 factors I said before, no need to repeat it now. Now therefore be it resolved that said application is hereby officially granted until we vote on the following conditions. No permit or certificate of occupancy shall be issued until the applicants have paid in full all application and consultant fees incurred by the village in connection with the review of this application. Okay, good? Okay, a vote. Steve?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Yes, application approved, 5 yeses, 0 nays. Congratulations.
Where are you moving to? And one thing to the public is,
Is there parking?
remember to get permits if you're,
Lots of neighbors, too.
well, good luck to you.
Okay. All right, there being no summary to deal with, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.